Hey, how you doing? Uh, I just spent like an hour talking to nothing. This thing wasn't in record. And that's after the screen didn't work and my headphones were broken. And anyway. What I'm doing here is I'm gonna talk a little bit about religion, and there's gonna be politics in there. And part of the reason I'm doing this is because um, I I made a post this morning on Facebook, and I thought I'd try to flesh this out a little bit. Um, wow, you wouldn't believe all the shit I just got done talking about. This was supposed to be a little bit of a history for me and my religious experience. so, yeah. Is it recording? Yes. Okay. Okay. Here we go. I was raised a Catholic in a Catholic family. Family consisted of myself, my father, and my mother. That was it. And some dogs, some chihuahuas, and a bird, a parakeet. I went from K through 8th in a Catholic school. Catholic school was not really all that religious, as I came to find later once I dipped my toe in Pentecostal religion and Jehovah's Witness. But that was my foundation initially. I was an altar boy. I learned the Latin Mass. Never had a particular affinity for any of it. It all seemed very black roby and mumbly and patriarchal to me, and I just didn't really cotton to that. Found even as a child, the idea of hell was just abhorrent and ridiculous. And one time I asked my religion teacher, I said, what will heaven be like? Will we, I was a kid, like, I don't know, 10. Because, I'd seen like on the Roadrunner when a bomb goes off in somebody's face or they are supposed to have died, they kind of float up into the clouds playing a harp, bling, 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 with wings. And I honestly thought to myself, I don't really want to do that. That doesn't really appeal to me. And so I asked about that, and the teacher got kind of angry. I wasn't trying to be a smartass, but anyway, so there was that, and then I studied with Jehovah's Witnesses for a while. They came to the house. You remember they used to do that? I don't know if they do that anymore. Little bag boy looking guys. They come to the house, and I thought, well, you know what? What the hell? Let's see what's going on here. So they gave me a Bible, and they came to the house, and we tried to talk about shit, and it wasn't my flavor. The 144,000, I think, is something that comes to mind, and the name of Jehovah, and you can't have, I don't know, can you have birthdays? Is that okay? But you can't have other holidays, and I don't know. It's, and those pictures of the people in the forest and the trees, like the little jungle scenes with the white people. I don't know. So that didn't take. Then in Ohio, I went to a Pentecostal church. Wow, that was a thing. That kind of introduced me to what I tend to think of as the Americana of religion, Christian religion, rather. So, in that experience, I went a few times, and I in retrospect, I kind of feel like they know when they have new blood in there, so they kind of like make up this generic outreach, and they don't let you like they know they're trying, but they don't want you to know they're trying to get to you. And one of the dumb things was they said, we know about the drugs, dear Lord. There's so many the people that they get lost in the drugs and all this kind of shit. And I was like, I was never a druggie. I tried pot a few times and it made me fucking paranoid. And cocaine, I rubbed it on my lips one time and it smelled like a dentist's office. And I just never, I like coffee and beer. And that's all I ever really, I wish I liked pot, but I just don't. It makes me fucking paranoid. And I stop breathing and shit. It's just, awful. Anyway, So at that little excursion, I was baptized or baptized. Baptized. I was baptized. And they said I spoke in tongues while they were praying on me, and I didn't really. I was just kind of blubbering because I was weeping because they were freaking me out, man. They were all had their hands on me and shit, and they were, we know about the pain, we know about what we feel. Oshana Kanda, oh Baba Kanda, yo Baba Kanda, that kind of shit, yo Baba Kanda. So that didn't take. And so that was, I guess I was in my 20s. And so I kind of just got sick of the whole mess. And then later on I thought, well, let me re-examine this. I think I in 92, I decided I was going to do a research, like a deep dive, as they say on the YouTubes now. Let's dive in. After they say, let's not waste any time. Oh my God. What is that? I turned off the messages. Why? Jesus. Sorry about that. Wow. Okay. Let me see. Maybe this will fix that. Okay. That shouldn't do that anymore. So where was I? Oh, Pentecostals, blah, blah, da, 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 da. I thought, you know what? I can't really make what can I really say about religion if I don't study first? Because so many people are just born into it, right? If you didn't live here and you lived in India, cows would be sacred. They just would be, and that's what you would be. And that's the only one true religion. If you lived in Saudi Arabia, it would be that thing. And if you lived in China, it would be another thing. And if you lived there, it's just all very parochial. And that also kind of put me off because, I mean, there's nothing really wrong with it, but it's the idea that there's supposed to be this one true God. And so I thought, well, then they can't all be true. Or they are, but they're different. So it left me a little confused. So I thought I'd start by examining the Christian religion. It's still recording? Yes. So I thought I'm going to do this because at this point I had lost all that like superstitious pressure, like the fear factor of hell and all this business. I was like, any God that's going to threaten me because I'd go to try to understand what it's all about is just a fucking asshole anyway. And I don't think the universe is ruled by an asshole. So that kind of alleviated my fear. Like I kind of felt like, had they always used this analogy of a father. Of course, it has to be a male, human male. So I thought, hey, if this guy is my father and he cares about me, then God damn it. It says, do not disturb. What the fuck? How is that even a thing? Oh, here. Let's turn these down. Okay. So, God is, of course, an anthropomorphic being in the clouds, in the sky, up, not down. Heaven is up, not down. Hell is down. Hell has a devil. Bad people go to the devil, good people go to heaven, and all this kind of stuff. Anyway, I wanted to sort this shit out, so I figured, hey, this guy's going to have to give me a break here. Please, dear God, Father, don't burn me in hell forever for trying to understand my life. And so with that delusion of my own, I moved forward. And I some of the books that I turned to and the research that I did, this was in the days of CompuServe, I think. Remember CompuServe? You probably don't. It was the internet as much as you could get, like in the 90s. And I joined these Christian things and religious forums, and it was text. It was all text, which was kind of cool because it was mostly information, no memes. And I saved a lot of that stuff, and I still have it printed out somewhere. So that was informative. And I also had computer programs. I had a computer Bible, and we'll get to it. But later on, I developed my own database of what they call the red letter sayings, being the words in the New Testament that are supposedly the words of Jesus, or most likely the words of Jesus. Anyway, so I made a database of that shit based on level of accuracy or likelihood. Let's see. Yeah. So let's see. One of the biggest influences on me was, at that time, was The Kingdom of God is Within You by Leo Tolstoy. Let me see if I can call this up here. 4? Is it 5? Yeah, there we go. The Kingdom of God is Within You by Leo Tolstoy. This is very interesting. I'm not going to go into it, but here it is, and you can look it up if you like. It's free. You can get free versions of it on Amazon even. This is in Amazon. It was free. It's on my Kindle Reader cloud version. So this was very big. What else? The Kingdom of God is Within You. That was major. Then there was a book by Stephen Mitchell, which is here. No, here. Yeah. It's called The Gospel According to Jesus, a new translation and guide to his essential teachings for believers and unbelievers. And this, I went through this pretty heavily, and this is my research here as far as what were red letter sayings. And why would I choose the red letter sayings? Well, the namesake of the religion is Jesus Christ, right? Can we agree on that? And so I figured, well, why don't we try to figure out what that means? So I read a bunch of stuff here, and I read about the various philosophers and their opinions of these things, and I found it very enlightening, helpful, and enjoyable. What else? Oh, another thing. Let me see if they even have this on as a book of some kind. This would be okay, it's not going to be in my library. So let's go to Amazon and let's look for the Jefferson Bible. Now, the Jefferson Bible has an interesting history. Thomas Jefferson, here, let me, I should put this in my Kindle collection as well. Am I logged in? Yes, okay. Buy now with one click, it's just 99 cents. Yes, there we go. Now it's in my library. Now it's in my library. Read now in the cloud reader. The Jefferson Bible, more accurately called The Life and Morals of Jesus, is now the property of the United States National Museum, blah, 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 blah. A few of the terms I remember, or ways of describing it, was that Thomas Jefferson took a pair of scissors to a New Testament, and what he came up with was something very different than the New Testament as it was compiled. So he felt like some of the stuff just really didn't fit. You know, it didn't fit the demeanor, it seemed out of character, it seemed wrong just from moral, like any basic moral principle. So he, compiled his own New Testament. And I read through that. And I found that it struck a chord with me, and that it began to create the portrait of a certain kind of person or entity, even if that person never really existed or not. I'm not saying either way, but it became more coherent and cohesive and began to become more obvious as to why it would have also been heretical, not because this person claimed they were a god, but because the basis of the philosophy was freeing. It did not of its own lead to subservience to anything. The business about a church and all that stuff is another topic, but it just didn't start out like the regimented, clannish behavior that it has become. Anyway, that's my opinion. So what I did, I found a New Testament, this here, and where's my fucking, what the hell is that? No, sorry. I went through this New Testament, and I got this from, what was that guy's name? Schuller? Oh, it's all worn out. Television Ministry, Hour of Power. Remember that? Does anybody remember the Hour of Power? So right away I took out the epistles. So there's like this little bit of Acts, because I don't really want to hear anybody's ideas, not even Paul's. I don't give a shit about anybody's fucking ideas. I want to know what the guy said as best as I can figure it out. So I went through this, and here's my little musings. I was very Christy in those days. So I had some Christy little sayings here that I came up with. But then I just went through, and you can't really see a lot of this, I don't think. And the highlighter in some places is very faded. But all the red letters, I went through and looked at all the red letters, and things I didn't know about, I would, put a question mark, go back, do some more research. And so also, in doing that, I consulted with, I gave these books away. A lot of the books that I had a concordance. What was that thing called? Strong's Concordance, right? You got to have that, because you got to find out what the words mean and make sure the word that you want to mean the word to mean, and then you pick that word. So this Robert W. Funk had a thing called the Jesus Seminar, and a bunch of scholars, studiers, got together, and they went through the New Testament. Now see, there's all these margins that give scripture. It's not going to focus, is it? As they provide some exegesis here. This turned out to be very helpful. Okay, so here we go. Let's move along. That takes me up to, I had become very, very Christy. I was so Christy that I felt like, first of all, the idea that the kingdom of God is within you made a lot of sense to me. And there is a parallel, and there are parallels between some of the red letter sayings, some of the information that is linked to the figure of Jesus that is of Eastern flavor. And the idea of God as a father and the kingdom being within you, these things can be understood to be more than sort of literal, I guess. Oh, here's something else I did. I wrote a little translation. I use a This is my nom de plume. What I did was I pulled this off the thing. I'm thinking about redoing it and using my real name. Anyway, this includes sayings from the Gospel of Thomas. Some of you may be familiar with the Gospel of Thomas, because you have to, there's a big story about what became canon and what was allowed and what wasn't allowed and what was let in and what was cut out and what. It's a big story, and it's all very interesting. But I don't think a lot of people know about that. But anyway, I made this as an effort to present the concepts put forth by the figure of Jesus without magic. And if that's insulting, I'm sorry. I mean, what I'm saying is, without miracles and... See, one of the things that always bothered me too was like, there's a conversation where Jesus says, if you demand to see proof or you need signs and wonders, then you're kind of missing the point. And he also said, why don't you just go in the closet and pray where it will do the most good instead of telling everybody that you're praying. And I mean, see, this all starts to get to areas where I lose my taste for conventional Christianity. Now, again, I am not saying that this is just my experience. I want people to be able to gather in the churches of their choice and to freely express their spiritual beliefs as long as they were within the confines of law that is arrived at through the proper democratic process. Okay? But I, as a person who has one life, this is how I look at my life. I have one life. I don't get a do-over. I know there's a many worlds theory, but as far as me, this guy right now, as long as I have my faculties, this is who I am, and this is what I have to do with my life, because this is what I want to do with my life. And if this country is free at all, then these are things that I should be able to do. And in trying to create my worldview, my understanding my place in the universe, these were things that I felt necessary to do. Now, I had been very strident, and I had arguments with people, and I was very emotionally involved, very emotionally charged. I apologize for whatever good it does at this point. I have come to understand that just like they can't, like one who is steeped in religion can't force or expect to convert people. They have to let people come to their understandings. Do you know what I mean? And let people come to that understanding. I'm there to help. If anybody wants to question, or they want to have a debate, or they want to talk about it, I have my own personal views, and I'm happy to share them under most circumstances. I'm not too fucking tired. But there's so much about what I found in the person of this. I'm going to call him a man, okay? Because that's not a derogatory term for me. Because the death of a man, here we go. When, for Jesus, the character, the person, the entity, to face execution has a much deeper merit to me when I think of him as a man. And as a man who didn't know for sure what happens when you're dead. But he knew so much and believed so strongly that living your life free and not clinging, like, he also said, the harder you cling, the less free you are. I can't remember the words exactly, but it was the same kind of thing. And all of these things, all the sayings that stuck with me were very incongruent with what I saw in front of me as the portrayal of what it means to follow what this person was trying to convey. If the person ever lived, let's say they didn't. If they did or they didn't, there's a canon of sayings, okay? There's philosophy, you can call it whatever you want, but it's there and it's a thing, and people, can believe whatever they want. But so when I was studying this, miracles were of no importance to me. In fact, they kind of cheapened it, because everywhere there was a miracle, to me, it was like somewhere along the line, the people that wrote this stuff down just couldn't let the power of the philosophy speak for itself. It had to have signs and wonders. So, but there's the Sermon on the Mount, which nobody cares about, nobody talks about, nobody wants to live like that. The camel through the eye of a needle, that's always turned and spinned and spun and twisted around. And, it can never mean that material wealth makes you dumb and pollutes you and ruins your moral character or has the potential to do so. It can never be that, because everything becomes a commercial enterprise, especially in America. Prosperity gospel. So it's a perfect layup. If I become a preacher, a priest, well, not a priest. The priests, they're taken care of, but man, they don't really get in the money like the other guys. So if I become a minister of some kind, I can tell you that you've got to give me money, because then the Lord will give you money, right? And if you don't give me money, then the Lord won't bless you. I mean, who can argue with that? And to me, that is a form of predatory behavior. So I guess I'm getting off track here. Anyway, the bottom line is that I am not a virgin when it comes to this stuff, pun intended. I gave this shit a lot of thought, and that doesn't make me right, but it also doesn't make me a little snowflake, a little baby lamb, just ready for you to tell me all about what the real truth is, because, you went to Bible study. We can, Bible study is not even of a particular interest to me. The Bible's a great work of literature, but I just don't turn to the Bible to understand how to live a life in today's society. I would sooner turn to the New Testament and the red letters. And if you want to know anything that comes from Jesus, why not, go to the source rather than Moses or, that stuff. It can be understood as allegory. It can have a powerful meaning in allegory. That's Jordan Peterson's thing. I hope it's not literal. And that's fine. But where people have decided that that's the only thing in the world that people can use as an allegory to teach lessons about life, that's not necessary. That's not even provable, or doesn't even need to be proven. It's signs and wonders. And people that are manipulated by that kind of emotional ransom or bribery, it's not a strong foundation, in my opinion. So anyway, I want to reiterate again what's been happening in the United States right now with the FBI getting involved in religious practice is wrong. And I'm not a guy who is a Catholic, and I'm not a guy who is a Protestant or a Baptist or anythingist. I'm a guy, my leanings are mostly Zen philosophy, if it has to be a thing, And just like when Hillary Clinton does something wrong or Joe Biden does something wrong, because they supposedly are nicer people than Donald Trump or some other bullshit, doesn't carry any weight with me. The prosecution of Donald Trump under these circumstances and under the Espionage Act is an act that you would find in a third world country by authoritarian dictators. The government has been weaponized against him. Yeah, he had a lot of fucking boxes, lots of them. And yeah, it was a big place. It was his lush, fancy joint. It wasn't a Corvette garage. And yeah, he didn't turn him over. Lots of bad things, but there's a law for that. It's the same law that Joe Biden broke, and probably plenty of other presidents. I forget what it's called, but it's specifically about the removal of documents. There's no espionage angle to this. And without going deeper down the rabbit hole, Russiagate's not a thing. It's not a thing. And the point I'm getting at is, if you think that it's okay what's happening now, and you think, well, this is good because this is the first step in doing the same thing to everybody in the future, I think you are mistaken. This has never been done before. The way this was pulled off was by a lot of jiggery poo. And I can't believe that you think that this is not targeted. It's very easy because you hate him so much. I get that. You know, Democrats just hate him. They just fucking hate him. They think he's Satan incarnate. And when he opens his mouth, fire comes out and the whole world is destroyed and he's ruining democracy. Like, it's a cult of personality in reverse. But something is going to happen, and you're going to be on the other side of that same thing. And then you're going to start crying about how it's unfair. You'll be right. But you already fucked it up. Right now is the time for you to think this through and to stand up for the right thing to do. Donald Trump could be legally and rightfully brought up for the charges that suit what he did. Even then, that is a selective prosecution because he's not the only person that ever did this. And he won't be the only person that ever will. And the irony of this, in light of all the things that are happening with Biden and Burisma and Ukraine, and you just don't care. And can't you understand how, to the other side, when Hillary basically flips off everybody, flips off the whole legal apparatus because she decided she was going to have a server in her toilet and just erase everything and then call her friends over to say, here, you check it out and tell them everything's okay. And then they did that. And then Comey's like, ooh, she was a bad girl, but you know what? We're not going to do anything about it. So, okay. And you're like, yeah, that's fair. Because lesser evil. So you think that those horrible people on January 6th with blood in their eyes and their nooses and guns at the ready, knives, and ready to just take over the country and destroy democracy, which wasn't true. But you don't think that there's some outrage on their end? Like, really? Like, is there no end to the fucking slack that your people get? I don't want anybody to get slack. on these kinds of things. I don't think you understand that. There's so much wrong right now. We're on the brink of a nuclear war. And my former comrades don't give a fuck. They think it's freeing the Ukrainians. It's sad and scary. But anyway, I just thought I'd do that. I don't know if anybody ever watches, but I had to kind of get this off my chest and just put it on record for whatever reasons. Anyway, also these are two books that, in the scientific way, really helped me indirectly with my spiritual development, and I'll probably explain that at some other point, like it or not, because it all goes together. And I will leave you now. How long have I been doing this? Where's the timer? Oh, 35 minutes. That's not too bad. Okay, listen. Find your way. But, man, watch out for propaganda and watch out for emotional manipulation. And from my perspective, we all need to get together and face the real enemies. But unfortunately, we are not agreeing on who those enemies are. And we need to please come to some consensus about what that really is. Hint, it's not the Democrats or the Republicans